Did the Romans poison themselves into decline? That's a question that's been pondered by historians for years. Picture a Roman city brimming with life and sophistication. Now imagine the intricate network of aqueducts and pipes supplying water to the city's inhabitants. These marvels of engineering were often made of lead, a substance we know today to be toxic. This lead didn't just reside in the city's infrastructure, it was molded into cookware, vessels, and utensils, silently leaching into the food and drink of the Roman populace. Over time, this could have had a devastating impact on their health, particularly on the mental faculties of the Roman leaders. Could this accumulation of lead in their bodies have clouded their judgment, affected their decision-making, and contributed to the empire's eventual decline? It's a tantalizing theory, but one that's hard to prove definitively. So, while we may never know the extent of lead's impact, it's an intriguing piece of Roman history. Feasting and purging, is that what vomitoriums were for? Actually, not quite. The term vomitorium might conjure up images of Roman excess, but the reality? It's a whole lot less scandalous. You see, vomitoriums were actually architectural features found in amphitheaters and stadiums. They were passageways designed to allow large crowds to enter and exit these massive structures efficiently. So why the mix-up? Well, it might come down to a simple case of lost in translation. The Latin word vomitorium comes from vomere, meaning to spew forth. And yes, it sounds a bit like, well, you know, but it's actually referring to the crowd spewing forth from the arena, not the contents of their stomachs. So next time you're at a concert or a sports game, take a moment to appreciate the modern-day vomitoriums guiding you to your seat. So, vomitoriums, not quite as scandalous as they sound. Imagine having a chat with your neighbor while attending to your needs. That's what Romans did in their public toilets. In the bustling streets of Rome, a common sight would have been the public latrines, or forica as they were known. These were not the private cubicles we're accustomed to, but rather communal spaces where Romans could sit in a row, with nary a partition in sight. It was quite literally a social hub, where conversations flowed as freely as the water used to flush the waste away. These latrines were sophisticated for their time, featuring a channel of flowing water beneath the seats and another in front for cleaning. However, the cleaning tools were shared among users. Picture this, a sponge mounted on a stick soaked in a bucket of salt water or vinegar used by all. It might send a shiver down your spine, but it was part and parcel of Roman life. Romans definitely had different standards of privacy and hygiene when it came to public toilets. Did you know some Roman soldiers sported Gaulish haircuts as a fashion statement? It might seem amusing, but yes, Gaulish hairstyles became quite the rage among some Roman soldiers. This trend started following Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul, which is modern-day France. The soldiers, influenced by the Gaulish culture, started adopting their hairstyles. Now imagine this hairstyle. The front of the head is shaved clean, while the hair on the back is allowed to grow long. Quite a sight, isn't it? This unique style, however, was not received well by all. Traditionalist Romans found it quite amusing and at times even ridiculous. They couldn't help but poke fun at these new fashion-forward soldiers. But isn't it fascinating how cultural exchange works? Even in the realm of military conquest and political power, the influence of a conquered culture seeped into the daily life of the conquerors. Fashion trends can certainly come from unexpected places, even in ancient Rome. Envy and jealousy could bring misfortune in ancient Rome, or so they believed. This belief was encapsulated in the concept of the evil eye, or as the Romans called it, invidia. The evil eye was a malevolent glare, believed to be cast out of envy or jealousy, capable of bringing harm or misfortune to the recipient. To counter this perceived threat, Romans equipped themselves with an array of talismans, amulets, and gestures. Talismans and amulets, often bearing the likeness of mythological creatures or divine symbols, were worn or carried around for protection. These objects were thought to deflect the evil eye, redirecting its harmful intent away from the bearer. But Romans didn't just rely on objects for protection. They also employed certain gestures. One popular gesture was the sign of the fig, a fist with the thumb tucked in between the index and middle finger. This gesture was believed to ward off the evil eye, providing yet another layer of protection. The fear of the evil eye was real in Rome, and they had their own unique ways to protect themselves. Fish guts in your food, anyone? That's what Romans relished in their popular condiment garum. This pungent delight was more than just a sauce. It was a culinary staple, a flavor enhancer to a wide variety of dishes. From the humble homes of plebeians to the lavish feasts of patricians, garum was a common sight. The process of making garum was as intriguing as its taste. Fish entrails, typically mackerel or tuna, were fermented in salt over several weeks. The result? A strong aromatic sauce that packed a punch of umami. Despite its strong smell, which could be likened to a week-old fish market, Romans found it irresistible. But don't let the smell fool you. This sauce was a marker of sophistication, a testament to the Romans' adventurous palate. Garum, in all its pungent glory, was a culinary delight that transcended social classes. So the next time you wrinkle your nose at a pungent sauce, remember the Romans and their love for garum. Long beards could cost you in ancient Rome thanks to Emperor Hadrian's beard tax. Now let's transport ourselves back to the 2nd century AD. Emperor Hadrian, known for his love of Greek culture, ironically imposed a tax on beards, a significant symbol of the very culture he admired. This tax, however, was not merely a revenue-generating scheme. Rather, it was a strategic move to discourage Romans from adopting Eastern customs, which included the growing of long, lush beards. In fact, the tax was structured in such a way that the longer the beard, the higher the tax. Yes, you heard it right. Your beard's length could literally lighten your wallet in ancient Rome. This beard tax, in essence, served as a cultural boundary, a distinct line drawn in the sand, separating Rome from the East. It was a clear statement asserting Roman superiority and uniqueness. It seems even in the ancient world, fashion choices could have political and economic implications.